The 8th meeting of the House Elections, Constitutional Amendments, and Intergovernmental Affairs Committee is called to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Blanton.
Present.
Representative Cantrell. Representative Fisher. Representative Gooch. Representative Heverin.
Present.
Representative Herron.
Here.
Representative Imes.
Present.
Representative Cook.
Here.
Representative Derek Lewis.
Here.
Representative Miller.
Present in the room.
Representative Moser. Representative Nemes. Representative Scott.
Present.
Representative Weber. Representative Wheatley.
Here.
Representative Scott Lewis.
Present.
Representative Bratcher.
Present. Everyone, please turn your cell phone, and that's me, to silent. And would anybody like to recognize a special guest in the audience today? No special guests. All right. First bill and only bill of today will be Senate Bill 216, Senator Robbie Mills, who used to be in the House,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
but now he's a senator.
We're all equals.
Tell them that.
I know. I was just getting ready to say, don't tell anybody I said that.
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Senate Bill 216 is a bill that we've been working through most of the session. I've worked with several senators and reps talking about election issues, and I appreciate the work that y'all are doing on the House side as well. I've worked along with the Clerks Association to make sure that these changes are easily implemented ahead of this year's election cycle. The final product of this bill that expands our existing audit process moves up the deadline for transitioning to universal paper ballots, ensures election machines are not hooked to the internet, and adds a few other cleanup provisions. That's what's in this bill. So let me delineate. There are 7 things that this bill does, just for clarity. The first thing it does is it increases the number of independent inquiries completed by the Attorney General following the election from 6 to 12. These are the inquiries that he'll pull out ping pong balls and select counties and do this independent inquiry. We've moved that from 6 to 12, which is 10% of our counties. The second thing it does is it removes credit and debit cards as an alternate form of ID that is used for voter ID. According to the Secretary of State's office, in 2020, only 167 voters used this form of ID as their photo ID. So I believe that to further protect the ID portion of our voter ID bill, that it would be a good idea to take the credit and debit card away. The third thing it does is it requires all voting machines to be paper ballot backup by January 1, 2024, and this is backed up by an appropriations that you'll see in the budget of $25 million for that equipment. The fourth thing is it prohibits voting equipment to being from connecting to any network, including the internet, or communicating with a device external to the voting system. Now, you'll see this probably. I think you see it 2 or 3 times in bills this session. We just want to make sure that there's not any way for any kind of outside forces to come into our voting situation. The fifth thing is for a period of 30 days, the voting equipment and ballot boxes will be secured and locked and under video surveillance for 30 days for a 30-day period. The sixth thing is it changes filing requirements to 1-year reports for years you are not on the ballot. This is a CREF regulation. And the final thing that it does is places the Secretary of State as the chair of the State Board of Elections. There is a committee sub, and I may yield to the committee sub-sponsor to explain that. It has some CREF language in it.
We have a motion on the committee sub, motion by Representative Blanton. Second by Joe Fisher, Representative. Voice vote, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and the committee sub is before us. You can continue. I think there's more to your bill, right?
That is it. That is the 7 things that Senate Bill 216 does, and additionally the committee sub. I can give just a brief rundown of the committee sub if you'd like, or if you'd like to share. That's fine.
Go ahead if you want to.
Okay. The committee sub removes the requirements that a candidate or slate of candidates designate a treasurer at the office with which they file the candidacy, which the candidate files to forward a copy to the registry of election. Everything else has to do with websites and publishing requirements for certain offices through the state.
There's an emergency.
There is an
clause,
emergency
too.
clause as well because of the elections coming up and filings coming up.
Any questions? Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Chairman, welcome.
Thank you.
The question I have a question on it's page 4 about no voting system. Voting equipment shall be approved for use after January 1, 2024, and it was 2021. One, why was it bumped out? And why? Second part is why so far? Why not 2022 or 2023?
That
Well, I know it wouldn't be 2022,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
2023.
I believe that provision was bumped out to 2024 because of the funding mechanism that's there and the requirement for the machines to be updated by 2024.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So the clerks support
They do.
2024.
Yes, they do.
Okay. And they're okay with the, sorry, Mr. Chairman, can I?
Yes.
And they're okay with the cost, the implications?
Yes,
of
they are. I mean,
approval?
there is hope that the $25 million that's going to be appropriated is going to be enough to cover it. I'm not foolish enough to think that they may not be back asking for a little bit more money, but we're hopeful that it's going to cover it.
Okay. Thank you.
Everything's more expensive these days.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Chairman. Senator, a couple
Yes.
of questions. One, for Section 5 on page 8, for the voting equipment being under video surveillance, is it under video surveillance somewhere in the clerk's office? I just want to understand this piece a little more.
I mean, for most folks, they will store them in what they believe is a secured place, but sometimes it might be a bus garage or something like that. The video surveillance is really just another step of security to make sure that if there is thought of any tampering that went on, at least we'll have a backup to be able to follow that and see if anything actually happened. But as of right now, most clerks, and probably have several people behind me that can answer it better than I can, but most voting equipment is placed in a secure place and locked until recounts and things of that nature are ruled out.
He's not paying attention. So follow up. So do
Yes.
most clerks' offices have video surveillance already?
They do not. I think some do. Once again, I think some of the places that the machines are stored are under security as far as like doors and things of that nature. The idea here isn't to have a exuberant cost. I mean, today security cameras like Ring doorbells and things of that nature are fairly affordable. And I just thought it was a good idea to put a second backup there in case there is thoughts of tampering.
Thank you. If I may ask another, Chairman? Thank you. Senator, you mentioned that I think you said credit and debit cards will no longer be used as a form of ID. So for the purposes of people watching, can you just say what other forms of ID can be used?
Well, driver's license, obviously, and if you can't get a driver's license, I'm going by memory. If you can't get a driver's license, you can get an ID card for free now from the clerk's offices. There are also EBT cards,
College admissions.
college IDs, maybe somebody behind me can.
Military.
Military IDs.
Let's get some audience
Pass.
participation
I love
on
it.
this one.
Y'all know I love audience
Bring it out.
participation. Let's go.
Thank you. So the idea about the debit and credit card is that There are almost anybody that can deposit $1,000 or $500 in an account can get a debit or credit card, and it's not the most secure ID. So that was my thought. And then when I did the research, that very few people used it in the last election. I don't think we're limiting people's ability to prove their ID.
No, I appreciate it, Senator. I just want to make sure people who are watching know
Absolutely.
that there are other forms that they can use. I love the audience participation. Thank you so much, Chairman.
We got a smart audience out
I
there.
know it. Thank goodness.
Representative Wheatley.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
I'll
Thank you,
probably
Senator.
need more on Representative Wheatley's question.
Well, you might. Thank you. I'm going to go to learning some things about how costs are distributed. And do election costs count as necessary governmental expenses under the budget? Or how do election costs, how are they allocated?
I believe they are. I don't know if one of the clerks associates wants to answer that or not. But I believe that they are.
You're
so.
bringing up Tabitha, one
I
of
know
my
it.
favorites.
I know it.
Go ahead and identify yourself.
Good morning. I'm Tabitha Clemens, Grant County Clerk, representing the Kentucky County Clerks Association. Good morning. So in regards to cost for elections, it is a cost of the fiscal courts. The fiscal courts in each county are required to pay for the election in its entirety. There are reimbursement opportunities through federal grant dollars, through the Help America Vote Act, HAVA funds, that the State Board of Elections distributes. That money is normally distributed by precincts, but as we move into vote centers, there may be an opportunity to look at that funding. The funding that Senator Mills has talked about this morning is a direct appropriation for from the state government to the counties through the State Board of Elections. It'll be distributed much like the HAVA dollars, I would imagine, so that counties can get reimbursement for the machines to comply with the laws that we're putting into place to have paper ballots.
All right. Thank you for that. If I can follow up.
Sure.
I'll have more questions about the bank card and the credit card, and 167 people haven't used that form of ID, and the rather rigorous set of circumstances that follow that precede you even being able to use a bank card. So it's not just like you go show them your bank card and you get to vote. There's perjury laws involved. There's signatures involved. It's quite a protocol that has to be followed to use a bank card. And obviously, 167 people had to do that last time. Were there any issues of fraud with those 167 people?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge that the 167 specifically. That may be a question for the Attorney General's office, as they would be the agency to investigate those situations of a claimed voter fraud. Specifically about the ID, we had one of those is from my county. She couldn't get her driver's license out of her wallet, so it was easier to get her bank card out versus she had her driver's license. We could see it, but it was easier to pull that out. So while it's 167 people, it may not truly be 167 people, because it is difficult to get your driver's license out of those little sleeves that they put in wallets these days. So,
Thank you for that. And I just know that the 2018 voter ID law had many people at the stakeholders involved. The Secretary of State, this bill sponsor, went through a rigorous process to get a balanced approach on this. And this seems to be pulling something out from that approach that they had that day. And Mr. Chair, the next question I have would be better after, I think we have a guest or a person who's going to speak, and it's related to the committee sub and KREF.
Okay.
So I'll
Thank
hold off.
Well, Tabitha, while you're there, what is the fate of HAVA right now? How much more do we have of HAVA?
It's almost spent. So we had training last week, and I know some of the folks from state boards here, but my understanding from what they explained to us is that we have a few more years of technology funds, that they use technology funds through HAVA dollars. The electronic poll book funds are going to be out at the end of this election cycle that we're in currently. So that's an expense that the counties will have to pick up for electronic poll books, and the machine funds that we have are being, they'll be distributed. There's a few dollars left there for machines, about somewhere around the estimate of about $2,000 per precinct, which does not come close to covering the cost of a machine for a precinct.
The money that, for the pandemic, the Fed money and all that, was that anything that we can draw on, or the counties can draw on?
Not so. We asked when we met with the governor's office back in the summer in regards to the ARPA funding for not only elections but also for land records, and we're told that those funds could not be used for either project for county clerks.
Okay. Representative Miller, and then we'll come back to you, buddy.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following up on Representative Scott's question on the video surveillance, I like the idea of this video surveillance. Yeah. And it says, so it starts on the day of election, and then it ends 30 days later. Is that the period?
Yes.
That's the impoundment period of all the machines. So machines are impounded for 30 days after the election. They can't be, the seals that are put on them on election morning by the election officers at the voting location, that seal must remain, and it's a numbered numeric seal, and the machine must also stay locked. So the 30 days is during the impoundment period of when ballots would remain in the machine for the entirety of the impoundment.
But there doesn't appear to be any requirement that as opposed to a loop that you may have 3 days and then it records over things. Is there a provision I don't see a provision that says you have to keep the entire 30 days of video.
That's a good point.
I intentionally left that to be kind of vague for folks to be able to retrofit. I mean, obviously we need a 30, and we may need some clarity on that to say we want all 30 days recorded, because you're exactly right. Some security cameras have like a 3 or 4 day loop that start recording over it. So we might need to tighten that up even some more.
So you consider a
Absolutely.
friendly amendment on that?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out.
Representative Wheatley had a question for KREF. Do you all mind?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, this is probably if Mr. Stephan wants to make his statement, he probably will answer the question. So we'll just
Well,
allow
he
him
put
to
down
make
if needed. So.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask. Thank you, Mr. Stephan. You might want to identify yourself.
John Stephan, Executive Director of KREF.
The committee sub includes some of the same language from a previous bill related to filing and how often filings have to happen. Is this committee sub very similar, or is it the same? Do you have the same kind of objections you had before related to transparency?
I don't think that's in the committee sub. I think that's in the bill as it came over from the Senate, actually. That same language that you heard about my concerns about before. I have the same concerns. I still believe that more reporting is better than less reporting. I think quarterly reporting is better than annual reporting. You've already heard those concerns. I wasn't going to reiterate them today. My understanding is if we get our system working better, that there are some among you who would entertain revisiting that issue down the road when the filing ability gets easier. So, yes, I have the same concerns and same objections, but I wasn't going to replay them again
That's fine.
for y'all. I appreciate you bringing it up, though.
Thank you, Chair.
Any more questions? All right, we're going to vote on Senate Bill. We need a motion on the what committee sub? Okay. All right, we have Senate Bill 216 as amended by Committee Sub 1. I need a motion on that. Motion by Blanton, second by Matt Cook. Please call the roll.
Representative Blanton,
Aye.
Representative Cantrell, Representative Fisher,
Yes.
Representative Gooch, Representative Heverin, Representative Heron,
No.
Representative Imes,
Yes.
Representative Cook,
Yes.
Representative Derek Lewis,
Yes.
Representative Scott Lewis,
Yes.
Representative Miller,
Yes.
Representative Moser,
Yes.
Representative Nemus, Representative Scott,
No.
So no.
Representative Weber,
Yes.
Representative Wheatley,
Briefly explain,
Sure.
I am a no today, but this bill has a lot of good things in it and one bad thing. So if we could take out it could be bipartisan support or bipartisan bill if we could take out the bank card and debit card issue, and we'll deal with that on a broader level at some other point. But I appreciate all the other good language in there.
Representative Bratcher,
Yes. So Senate Bill 216 as amended passes with favorable expression. The roll call was 12 yes, 3 no, 0 pass.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now we need a title amendment change.
Second on title.
Okay, I got a motion on the title amendment change from Representative Blanton and second by Representative Miller. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? No further business. We are adjourned.